This is a comic review of Ka-Zar, featuring Daredevil and X-Men. I suppose I had to put that too, because a lot of people probably look at it and think, well, who's Ka-Zar? I suppose on the newsstand back in, this was in August 1970, must have been quite an odd issue, because it sort of like suggests it's a Ka-Zar magazine, and you know, who was Ka-Zar? So I wonder how amazing the sales were particularly, or even why they released it. Because there was 3 issues of this, it didn't last very long. And even weirder was, there was also, of course, another magazine out for Ka-Zar, The Astonishing Tales. So why bring out this reprint magazine of it? Didn't really fit. I would have thought something like Marvel Action or Marvel Adventures or something would have been a better title, featuring Ka-Zar, and then you would have an ongoing series. However, obviously it did come out, and I'm just going to run through the stories. Now, I love Ka-Zar. Got loads of, got Ka-Zar the Savage, Ka-Zar, Astonishing Tales, lots and lots of issues. And obviously, of course, the early issues. Really, really looking forward to, hopefully, the Ka-Zar the Savage omnibus, but if they ever bring out an omnibus collection that includes, obviously, all these comics in, obviously, super quality. Also, an essentials, not essentials, an epic collection of Ka-Zar would be brilliant. And again, would obviously include these in better. I'm just going to run through the stories now. That's my wish list of things. Now, I've looked on the GCD, the Grand Comics Database, and the weird thing is there is a story in this. All these are reprint, other than one little bit in the middle, which they just sort of suddenly never continued. But they did continue, but in Submariner, sort of tucked away. The storyline continued there. But even weirder, it's a sort of Avengers story that's never been, as far as I can see, ever been reprinted. And it's just tucked away in this comic, Ka-Zar #1. Very odd. So you've got the Ka-Zar story, and I'm going to get to that next. So you've got this one, The Coming of Ka-Zar. Great story, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, of course. And it's just introducing Zabu, the saber-toothed stalker. Great title for him. And in fascinating journey to the world that time forgot. Now, I don't know, obviously, it was not called at this point the Savage Land. Ka-Zar as well, not Ka-Zar. I was called Ka-Zar. Ka-Zar, apparently it says. Pronounced Ka-Zar. Of course, Ka-Zar was originally a Golden Age character. Now, and also a pulp character who's even earlier than the comics. So you've got that character. Now, obviously, this character is not the same. This is Kevin Plunder. And that story, Kevin Plunder's story, is actually the last one. This is the Daredevil story. So you've got that. So you've got some brilliant artwork. And now Ka-Zar doesn't hardly turn up until quite late into the story, about 10 pages in. And we've seen lots of dinosaurs, etc. And then we get to see, I am Ka-Zar. No, none touch Lord of Jungle. Sabu, Beast, etc. Look out for that tiger. Got all the adverts, of course, in here. And then, of course, there's the usual conflict between the groups. Obviously, Ka-Zar and Zabu and the X-Men. You always have to have that. It's a tradition. There's always got to be a fight between the 2 protagonists of the story. And great story. And then, obviously, he turns up again later in the Daredevil as well as Spider-Man, etc. stories. So, obviously, and then, of course, he gets his own comic, etc. However, this is the one that's the unusual one of this one. Hercules, the Prince of Power. Now, this is very odd. This is not a story. What was this in? Why was this concluded? As if there was like maybe they just had it stuck around somewhere. So well, let's slot it in. This maybe it was meant for a bit earlier or something. But this is a brand new adventure of Hercules, the Prince of Power, along with Ka-Zar. So sit tight. So why have reprints and then just have an original Hercules? Hercules and Ka-Zar, very odd combination. Next issue was slightly more obvious because, of course, X-Men, you had Angel. There's 2 Angel stories that they stuck in. And this one is in the footsteps of the Huntsman of Zeus. But the thing is, this is sort of a lost Avengers story because they've never reprinted it, as far as I can see. On JCD, no mention of it. And you've got the Avengers in the story. So you've got the Avengers. Unusually drawn by Frank Springer, but it's still a very got Black Panther there. You've got everyone bouncing around and some very odd action. Just gonna what can I show of the story without spoiling it? I can't show any. However, it just sort of finishes and trails off. And then just says basically, hang loose, blah, 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 blah. And does, at least it does actually say that it suggests you cast a glance at a near future Submariner issue. But it does say, let us know what you think about it. So maybe they were suggesting that maybe if people wrote in and say, you know what, we really want stories of Hercules. And of course, Hercules did get his own comic in the end. So it's not like he didn't. But it's just odd. So obviously maybe at this point, they didn't get a vast number of people contact him saying, we want Hercules, we want Hercules. Or maybe the sales weren't great. Who knows? However, The Mystery of the Midnight Stalker, that's featuring Ka-Zar. And you've got Daredevil. And you've also got an advert for the brilliant History of Comics by Steranko. Love that one. So you've got the Daredevil story there. Gene Colan, brilliant artwork. Love this story. And just some classic action there. This is, the weird thing is, it's not even like they made an effort to run all the stories. Because Ka-Zar turned up in issue Daredevil 13 and 14. So why didn't they include those? So they just suddenly jump this story in. Ka-Zar, Lord Kevin Blunder, turns savage once more. Most odd. You know, if you're going to do like I say, if they bring out an omnibus edition epic collection, you hope that those stories will be included in order. My favourite, of course, of all these, this is actually a period where I loved the Marvel checklist. Because the thing was, where I was living, my hometown, most of these comics never turned up. You might have like 10 or 15 of them, but there's lots of issues here mentioned. And you've got some brilliant stories here. Fantastic 400. You've got Avengers 77, you've got Hulk 129 with the Glob, you've got Iron Man 27 with Firebrand. So Sergeant Fury was issue 79, which is quite a way, tackling Nazi troops. You've got the Marvel Tales 27, but you've also got things that never turned up in my hometown. Millie the Model 184, amazing, 184. Little Kids issue 1, Home of the Happy Ghost 5. That might have turned up, I don't know. My Love 6, Chili 15, Kid Colt Outlaw 147. None of those turned up, so I never saw those. Chamber of Darkness, I remember those. And also Mighty Marvel Western issue 9, Our Love Story issue 5. Also you've got Marvel Mania advertised there as well with a brilliant Captain America poster there. So you've got Ka-Zar there with his brother and all that sort of story. It's a very decent tale. But it's odd why they suddenly skipped 2 stories. Great artwork all the way through. And watch out for more Ka-Zar and Zabu in the Astonishing Tales on sale in May. So they're advertising, obviously, the upcoming Astonishing Tales. But it's just unusual to have this sort of reprint magazine with these. Very peculiar. And that's it. I think one of the most unusual comics that Marvel ever produced. Most people will look and say, well, it's just a reprint magazine. But it's just an odd one because it's Ka-Zar issue, obviously very few issues, and an Avengers story tucked in the middle. Very odd.